Hey guys, how's it going? So today I want to talk a little bit about my coming out story and, where I'm from and how I got here and the adventures that are my life, I guess. So originally I was born in Duncansville, Pennsylvania, which is a very small town, maybe like 2,000 people in central PA. And I don't know, I just kind of grew up in a very loving household. Like my parents were amazing people and they always provided everything that I ever needed. Like I never grew up, needing anything. And I don't know, I guess I never really thought about sexuality until I was older, maybe older than I should have been. But I was in ninth or 10th grade, I think, that I realized this is kind of weird because I don't like girls like he likes girls. I guess I just thought, oh, you just pick someone and then you spend the rest of your life with them because I don't feel anything for anyone. So, I mean, he's hot, but that's not how it works. So, you just pick someone, you pick a girl, and you just go from there. So, Central PA was really conservative. I mean, I ended up moving to Philadelphia for university, and it was the best decision that I've ever made in my entire life. So, the first person that I ever came out to was my best friend and my roommate in freshman year. And I was sitting, so our beds, my roommate's bed was here, my bed was here, and I was laying in my bed, and my roommate and my best friend were laying in his bed, and I looked over at them, and we were talking about something, and I just said it. I was like, I think I'm gay. And the words stung coming out, this was the first person that I had ever told, first people that I'd ever told, and I guess that I truly owned up to it, and I didn't know what was going to happen, so I kind of feared that. And they were both completely fine with it, obviously. I mean, I kept living with my roommate, and then we lived together my sophomore year as well, until we finally split up and lived in separate apartments our junior year. And so, my best friend was completely fine with it, and she was like, I knew a little bit, but she's like, you never really confirmed until now. And, I didn't feel that, instant relief like people talk about. I just knew that I kind of taken the first step to accepting who I was, And then what happened? So that was towards the middle of my freshman year, and then right after that I started finding who I was going to be hanging out with, a friend group. I started going out to parties. I went to my first gay club, which was awesome. And then I started seeing this guy who was a senior at the time, and that lasted for a month and a half until school was over. And that was basically kind of my freshman year that I officially came out to my friends and to the people that I was meeting in college. After that, I decided that the summer of freshman year, I was going to come out to my entire family. So then, after deciding that, I went home and really didn't do anything for the first month that I was there as far as telling anyone, just because, I don't know, it had only really been 2 or 3 months until I accepted it myself. And then I was standing in our driveway one day with my cousin Taylor, who's my sister because I only have one cousin. And then I was standing with my mom as well, and I looked at both of them, and I basically did the exact same thing I did with my roommate and best friend, and I just said, yeah, so I think I'm gay, and I hope you're okay with it. And they were so completely fine with it. And I always said, telling a family member that you're gay, especially when they have a negative connotation towards it, coming from a very conservative area, it's kind of like a scar for a little bit. You know, it's a wound that has to slowly start to heal. And I mean, I went through that, you know, after really putting a label on it and realizing this is what I am. It took me a while to fully, you know, accept that in myself. So it was fine, you know, I thought my mom was completely fine with it, and she was, but she like sought out help from our pastor, who I love, but then she wanted me to go and talk to our pastor, which was fine. I mean, I love my pastor, so that wasn't a big deal for me at all. It was the fact that I think I did it more for her than I did it for me. It was great to talk to her, but I guess I was telling things that I already knew. And like I had already kind of self-discovered. The next person that I told was my mom's mom and dad, so my grandma and pap. And they took it very similarly. You know, I was sitting with them on their back porch the one night, and I just said it again. And every time you say it, I thought it'd get easier to say, but I guess it's because each of these people matters so much to you, and that you don't want to like disappoint them. Even though I think it's so crucial for people to understand that being gay is not a disappointment, it's just who you are. It still felt like I was changing my relationship with them. But when I told them, they were completely fine with it, and so I was really happy. You know, again, it was kind of one of those things where they were shocked, but they didn't show it. And I asked my mom a while later, you know, were they surprised or were they not surprised? And she was like, yeah, like they were really, really surprised, just like I was. And I didn't realize my mom was that shocked either, obviously, until she told me like a month later that she had talked to our pastor and that she wanted me to talk to her. So then I told my dad's mom and my Aunt Di, who I'm both very close with. I have a super small family, so really it's only me, Taylor, my mom and dad, and then 2 sets of my grandparents, and then 2 aunts. So I ended up telling my grandma and my Aunt Di together. We were sitting there watching TV. This was like probably 2 or 3 weeks before summer break was over, and I knew I had to tell them, and I told myself I was not leaving that house until I told them. And so I just wanted to get up. Like, all of my being just wanted to get up and leave. But I ended up turning to each of them. They were sitting both to like my left. I remember the scene like it was yesterday. And again, I was like, I don't want to disappoint you guys. I just want there to be no changes. But I'm gay. And they were both so supportive, and my grandma said something that I will never forget until the day that I die, and she was like, it doesn't matter who you are or who you like, it just matters that you're a good person. And I will take that to my grave, because I truly, truly believe that. So then, obviously, the last person I had to tell was my dad, and he and I have never been really that close. We've always kind of coexisted, and we've never had that many commonalities. So it's not that, my dad doesn't care. It's just, I think we've just never been that close because we've never had much to do together, you know? And so it came to like the last week of summer, and my mom had been telling me, you know, you need to tell your dad, and I knew that I needed to tell him. And so I'm sitting there one day at the dining room table, and my mom comes over to me and she says, listen, I told your dad. And I was so upset. I just remember feeling awful, like this was the worst way it could have happened. And I wasn't upset with my mom. Like, I didn't care that she told him. I don't know if she thought I was upset, but I think I was so much more upset at myself for not having the courage and knowing that I could tell him anything that made me so mad. Just knowing that I didn't have the courage to tell him. And So like 2 or 3 days went by, and we were on the first floor of our house, my mom, my dad, and I. And my mom was getting ready to go outside, and my dad looks at her and says, "Could you just give us a minute alone?" And I knew what was coming. I knew what was coming. And so we're sitting there, or we're standing there, and my dad just looks at me and like starts to cry. And it was weird for me because I'd only ever seen my dad cry maybe 2 or 3 times in my entire life. So I'm like standing there, and he was like, "I'm not mad because, I'm not mad because you're gay. I'm completely fine with who you are. I'm just mad because you didn't feel like you could come and talk to me." And I mean, I completely understand that. Like, now I think so much better than I did when he was saying it, because if I would have children and know that they don't feel comfortable coming to me and talking to me about anything, I would just feel awful, And I think now I sympathize with him more than ever. And I feel a lot closer with my dad now than I think I ever have. But besides the point. So we talked, and of course, like, I cried. That was actually the first time that I cried coming out to someone, and I wasn't even coming out. It was just the fact, like, I felt like I disappointed him more by not telling him than I did if I would have just told him. So that was basically it. My entire family knew at that point. The only thing that I kind of regret is not telling my other aunt, who I'm really close with, just because my mom told her 3 to 4 months later, and I didn't know where I stood with her at that moment in time, just because she had just kind of got this new boyfriend, and things were changing so much, and I didn't know where she stood on the matter, so I just felt it would be safer and better for the both of us maybe not knowing for a while, or her not knowing for a while. But in the end, it wasn't. I really do wish that I would have told you. So then, obviously, there's the trickle-down effect, and people started to find out, and if you don't know by now, well, now you do, so I'm gay. So, in the end, I hope this helps you guys. I hope it helps you understand that who you are is who you are, and that you should be proud of yourself. I hope that it makes you feel more comfortable in your own skin, and that, coming out, although it does seem like a big deal, it's really such a small part of your life, and you feel so much better after you do it. I'll talk to you guys later, alright? Bye! Mwah!